This podcast production is done by Acute Media.
Listen to Yellow Tape and other amazing podcasts on Acute Media.
Episode 4. Here we are. Welcome back, guys. Proactive is the show. Today we are still here with Elsie. Elsie,
Hi, people.
how you been?
I've been good. I'm happy today.
Yeah, you look excited for the show today, but how has your week been?
My week has been okay. Spent most of it at home. At least nilienda gym twice.
Unaendaga gym?
Nilianza. I'm still new.
Progress, maze. The places I'm not planning to go. I need to add weight to grow a bit
Wow.
fat. So if you go to the gym and they tell you they have some procedures for me to add some extra meat.
Just eat a lot of junk and lift weights at the gym.
There has to be a gym part. I can't just eat
you
the
have
junk.
to lift weights still if you want to gain weight.
Miss Takis, I don't need to buff up Johnny Bravo.
Okay, then I don't think you have a choice. Then just do junk.
I think I'll just be
Do pizza,
Bana.
all that unhealthy stuff that I can't do.
nilijaribu and they told
Carbs.
me I have a sijui high metabolism whatever.
Then you're lucky.
This is so sad, and here I'm being told I'm lucky. Anyway, my week has been good too. A lot of stuff has been going on. We've seen a lot of people doing a lot of things in the parliament.
Yeah, seen it.
But let's finish on the report. We agreed. I mean, my hands, my mouth is itching to hit out at people, but I still want to finish this report and say, I mean, we did the 9 pillars, and this is why I think we should do this.
Why we should not do
Why we should not do this. How should we revamp this thing and make it ours and not theirs. And so let's stick to the report.
Okay.
Let's stick to the report. Nasikia uchungu, yani nikijikaza, yani nisiseme vitu zingine.
Jikaze too, but you see, whether you like it or not, even whatever was happening this week,
It's
still part of the report.
It's still part of the report.
Yeah, because it's something that the report seeks to address.
Other than some
Other than many other issues.
yeah, some
it's part of what the report
other
seeks
people
to address.
misbehaving at our expenses.
Yeah.
Tukafungiwa kwingine hatutataja. Wacha niendelee. So today we're going to tackle another 2 pillars, and we're going to be talking about responsibilities and rights, and then we're going to talk about shared prosperity. They're going to be intertwined because both of them just cover the same thing. I mean, when it comes to responsibilities and rights, shared prosperity will still be part of that being covered. And I don't know, let me just start same way we started last time. Let's get what they are saying before wajitaje pale chini watuoneshe venye wamepanga kujenga sera. Let's hear what the president na brother yake wanasema. So when it comes to shared prosperity, this is what they say. In parts of the country, there are many who are doing well, and Kenya continues to be a leading destination for investment into the region. Yet too many Kenyans lack a decent income, and our investment lags behind those parts of the world that have developed broadly. Those parts of the world that have developed broadly shared prosperity in the last few decades. We have to do much better. There are blockages and perverse incentives against innovation, growth, and job creation in our economic system. The 2 leaders will work together to clear them from every part of the country so that prosperity comes to us all. All right. So, uko kwingine siongezeangi. It's good to add though, anasema every level of government should be pressed to properly integrate and regulate value and supply chains if every Kenyan in every part of the country is going to be lifted out of poverty. It's important to add that part because I feel like they found a nice way to summarize what matters when it comes to shared prosperity.
Yeah.
And so go ahead. Mi nikitaka kuanza, mi nimeanza na mauchungu kwa sababu ya venye kumeenda hii wiki.
Okay.
And
Okay.
What do you think?
Okay, first of all, it's important to acknowledge where we come from as Kenya.
Yeah.
when Kenya got her independence, should I say how it's okay? When Kenya got independence in 1963, our first president Kenyatta won.
I didn't even figure that's
He
what you
was-
meant.
He was very vocal about the issues we were facing as Kenya, where we were starting off.
Mm-hmm.
When we were starting off, we had three main issues: poverty, disease,
Mm-hmm.
and what was it? Poverty, disease, and illiteracy. Yes,
That's Kenyatta one.
illiteracy. Yeah. So those
Okay.
those are our issues back then.
Okay.
But over time, Kenya, we have done a lot, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
As much as we have had disappointing governments, at least, we saw Kibaki trying to improve the literacy levels
It's
by
true.
introducing, free primary education. Our literacy levels as Kenyans are, it has gone up. It
It's
has
true.
gone- yeah. Then disease.
Mm-hmm.
The government has done a good job trying to manage the diseases that were impeding the prosperity of the Kenyans. For example, malaria was such a menace back in the days,
It's
but
true.
right now it's properly managed. HIV, AIDS, it's also, then it was still relatively new. Was it even there in 1963? I think it's a 1990s disease.
It's a big blow. Like it boomed in 95.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Around 1990s. But
Yeah.
still, as we speak right now, that's a disease that is also well managed by the government. Of course,
Okay.
a few issues here and there, you get to hear that US is no longer funding the ARVs through the Ministry of Health, whatever. But still, we have to acknowledge that the government has done well.
To some
but
extent.
poverty, yes. But poverty continues to remain a problem.
Look, even
Poverty.
education.
Education, education will fall under poverty. Somebody cannot access quality education because, first of all,
Yeah.
poverty.
I mean, I look. I don't say this like I have malice, but Kenyatta once centered like his education in some regions, and some regions were left out. Ni kama hakuna watu, and so hata saa zile alikuwa nasema vitu kama hizo, to some extent it wasn't as equally shared as we would have wanted it to be.
Yes, of course. There
It
are
was-
areas that were marginalized.
For
have
sure.
been marginalized since, Kenya got independent.
Even when it comes
And
to
those are the areas that we need to bring up.
it's
right
true.
now.
I mean, malaria is big. Even disease, malaria is big.
Yeah.
But in some regions, it's still killing them, manze.
True.
It's still
That's
affecting
true.
them. So that's why, to some extent, now the pain that I have, like when you talk about this prosperity, I like what we were talking before we started the show. When I touched on prosperity, and you defined prosperity like it's all aspects. It's not like one specific.
Yes.
Sio pesa peke yake.
It's not just about the money.
Yeah.
It also includes health, education.
I mean, what other thing can we say? I mean, we're adding health and education peke yake alafu tunamalizia prosperity.
Drinking water, clean drinking water. I mean, it's written in the BBI. Actually, I have this book over here that has the sustainable development goals. Prosperity will be
SDGs.
prospering in, every area.
Hebu touch on them. Like this one, like it helps a lot when
Yeah.
we talk about these goals.
So sustainable development goals were goals set up by the UN Development Program, UNDP, back in 2015.
Uh-huh.
It was a stepping stone from the Millennium Development Goals. So these goals were laid down by the UN to ensure that the whole world, because the UN is actually where the international community,
Yeah.
every state is a member of the UN. So they
Well,
come
not
together.
every state,
Ev-
but
Every state.
kuna
okay.
wale watu wanalianga wanataka kutoka kila saa manze.
Yeah, but you as a state, you can't survive without being in the UN, because UN lays ground for actually the prosperity of many other countries. That's where multilateralism, it's known as multilateralism. So now this sustainable development,
ingine tutafight hiyo siku
yeah,
ingine.
but then these sustainable development goals
Yeah.
basically leave no one behind. Just like right now, when we're discussing the BBA, it's about leave no Kenyan behind.
It's true.
For the sustainable development goals, leave no one behind in the entire world. And so, countries have to work together as individual states and also as partners, as
Yes.
partners in the international community, to ensure that their people come up or rather prosper in every aspect, in terms of poverty, in terms of hunger. It addresses hunger, it addresses health, education, gender equality, every issue that the world, most of the main issues, climate action, life below water,
They add that up on mwisho partnership for the goals.
Partnerships for the goals.
So
That's
there's definitely
SDG
that
17.
So there's definitely that partnership with everyone working together.
So our own country, Kenya, has a role as a member of the international community to ensure that these SDGs are implemented, to ensure that the Kenyans, are lifted or their lifestyles are improved in terms of even in employment, decent work and economic growth, that the women are empowered and gender equality, that, the gap between the rich and the poor is narrowed down as much as possible.
And that's basically, like, when it comes to shared prosperity, we have to look at this broad perspective.
Yeah, it is very broad.
It's not
you
just...
just don't look at it from the economic angle. Economy angle, you look at it from every other angle.
So where do we start from?
Where do we start from?
Because if we start this conversation, I've just stopped you from going ahead and saying lakini ya watu pali tuko. This one we can spend like an extra 2 hours tukisema Kenya hawajafanya.
Yeah.
Where does this role now play where me and you come into place to achieve this shared prosperity?
Okay, you and I are both within that age group where they would call us the youth. So, if our country is gonna prosper, then it has to be the youth.
Okay.
I'm not leaving out the other people who do not fall within this age group. No, they're also as important. But what we have, the greatest capital we have as a country is our youth population, the people who actually vote.
Yet we feel to some extent it's like the most neglected.
Yes.
Manze.
So you see, even BBI, it discusses the role of the youth at length in terms of employment. Because now unemployment is a major issue that we are facing currently. And the victims of unemployment are the youth. The ones that lack the experience that is required when, jobs are advertised.
Manze, 5 years natoa wapi na nimetoka kampo.
So, even the youth who... They're the ones who are the most creative people, the most innovative group that we have, yet they don't have the support, they don't have the capital to, build up on their talents.
That's true.
Yeah.
And we don't even look at just the availability of the jobs. We also have to see how decent the jobs are.
Yeah.
Because someone
can... So we're back to the SDGs, decent work and economic growth.
I know. So this one has been bugging me. Like, what is... I don't even know if we have a cap on what would be the minimum wage in Kenya. Like, what would be the minimum for someone employed to be given?
I don't know. Currently, it's at 15. Is it 15 or 13?
15 what?
I think back when I was doing my attachment, I was told that the minimum wage, that is what actually some companies pay interns, is 13. Was 13 back then. So I don't know. Maybe right now
13,000. That's what
13,
you're saying.
15, yeah, maybe.
But minimum has to go down to the level of even the one who is at the construction.
But that's not the case. The one at the construction...
Mtu wa kujenga, the lady who is...
Minya napelekea chai.
Napelekea chai, the one you live in the house taking care of your kids.
Yeah.
Do they get this even this close to 15? I left a conversation in 7.
So it is what the law provides versus the reality.
On the ground.
So on the ground, no, that's not what is happening. If anything...
Okay.
Some of these employees, some of these people who are working in mjengos, some of these people who are working as house helps in homes are not considered to be employees. They don't enjoy their rights under the Employment and Labor Relations Act. Very few of them can actually take cases to the Employment and Labor Relations Court.
Because there are no specific laws that actually protect them from these things. This guy can come Monday morning and say, I'm paying you guys 200.
I from the telenovelas I've watched, because I watched several telenovelas, I noticed that, some of these groups that are really despised here in Kenya, that are really looked down upon.
Yeah.
Back in the other countries, they're very respected.
Okay.
They're respected because they also have unions, trade unions. So, when you come to Kenya, trade unions are for the doctors, lawyers.
On a light note though, it's good to know manze, hata ukiwa mserious hivi bado Telemundo iko kwa system kidogo.
Yeah. So, I watched a telenovela whereby even the house helps, they also had their own trade union that could fight for their rights. But that's not the case here in Kenya.
Wow.
So, that is something.
Things
maybe
that we need to look
Yeah,
into.
those are things we need to look into. Those are things our leaders need to look into.
Do I need...
Those are things that Atwoli, Atwoli and Akotu.
Are we starting to mention names?
No,
Niko ready leo.
No, let's not mention.
But I agree. I mean,
we know Atwoli to be the father of the trade unions in
but we
Kenya.
don't know what
Akotu.
he does at the trade union. Sincerely, I mean, I wish to join a trade union, but I look at Atwoli and I'm like, okay,
So
this guy...
Atwoli is the head of, all trade unions come together under the umbrella body of KOTU.
Uh-huh.
What does KOTU? Coalition of Trade Unions, exactly. Coalition of Trade Unions in Kenya. So there are several there are many. There's TSC. No, TSC, NAT. I think it's NAT.
Yeah, Kenya National
There's
Union.
KMPDU for doctors.
Okay. Ya lawyers mnakuwaga gani?
As we are under LSK.
Hiyo ndio kama union yenyu.
Ni kama union, yeah? But it's not exactly the union that...
But they're
you
definitely...
See, the roles of these unions are to, ensure that the employees under these unions are protected, that they enjoy their labor relations rights.
So Atwoli's work so that people
Atwoli's work is now to
just bring them together and make them a stronger body.
Ensure that, exactly, a stronger body. And of course, he represents Kenya at the International Labour Organization, ILO.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's important for people to note kwa sababu they feel like most of the time, I mean, grievances are taken to him, but just because they don't have such a union probably registered at that time. Because I don't know if a maid or...
They don't have a union.
They don't have their own
I'm not
union.
aware of any union for maids.
We should look into that because I feel like they are... I mean, okay, we have 16 or 15 more to go. So wacha tuendelee when we touch on these things. Health. That's a big one.
Allow me to go to the Constitution now under Article 43.
Just a heads up, uliniambia hapa watu ni selfish.
Yes. We can be very selfish, and we tend to think about ourselves ourselves as individuals rather than as Kenyans.
As a community, as a big community,
But that's also something that BBI seeks to address. The other pillar that we will discuss on our responsibilities as citizens.
Okay.
Article 43 of the Constitution talks about economic and social rights.
Okay.
So if you are to read it wholly, then you'd see again where the Constitution wants Kenyans to be in terms of prosperity, where the drafters of our Constitution believed, or rather where the Kenyans who were there before 2010 working towards this Constitution that we have now, where they wanted Kenyans to be at. So now on matters health, under Article 43, under Article 43 1A, it states clearly, every person, you and I, the rich and the poor, has the right to the highest attainable standard of health, which includes the right to healthcare services, including reproductive healthcare. In addition to that, it also provides under Article 2 that a person shall not be denied emergency medical treatment.
Okay.
So do you think the kind of quality healthcare that you get, the quality of the healthcare that you get here in Nairobi is the same quality that somebody else gets in Wajir, in Mandera, in Tana River?
This question should be asked even to a politician. Like... These guys are usually going for their healthcare, in Germany, Dubai,
London, India. So what do you think?
No,
honestly?
for sure. I mean, we have tried our best. I remember even when it comes to especially reproductive, First Lady was doing something with the mobile clinics, at least trying to sort this issue. But that doesn't mean it's a permanent solution that is there.
Okay, what do you think of... there was an issue that came up recently, just this past week, that people who have been discharged after suffering from COVID and, now they are COVID-19 negative, when they are being released, the Kenyatta University teaching and that new hospital under Kenyatta University could not release them in the name of they have not even paid
anything
for the services. Yet the government promised that the government will manage any costs the hospital bills for victims of COVID-19.
I feel like the president in his last speech was like, now every man for himself. Don't even try.
Yes, of course he took that was his policy now.
Yeah.
Every man for himself, but it was every man for himself in terms of taking care of yourself. It wasn't that the state will not take care of your health, because when you have the right to health. Now we'll go to rights and responsibilities. You'll notice, I think I mentioned this last week, for every right there's a duty. There is no right without a duty. So the rights that we have enshrined under the chapter 4 of our constitution, the Bill of Rights, including this article 43, the duty is on the government. It is up to the government to ensure that we are enjoying, to fulfill, the word is actually fulfill, to take positive steps to ensure that we are enjoying these rights. So even the victims of COVID-19, I really hope I don't get there. It is even if I do get there, it is the government to ensure that I'm still getting quality health care.
It's even hard
in whatever hospital, public or private.
But it's even hard to get there if you're being asked for money for the test.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
So even if I get it, I'll stay at home.
It's very expensive.
Mi hata nikajaribu huko mamu 40 na sijui jinja nikunywe dawa because I can't pay for the test, man. I mean, I had a friend of mine who was like, Corona, when it comes, you just take Flugon and you're good. They were like, surely.
Wait, what?
I mean, of course, that's like some hearsay in the neighborhood going on. But this is happening because even just for the test, you have to pay a lot of money for it.
Yeah.
These people are not providing a healthcare service where actually like it's accessible for everyone and affordable for everyone. And affordable is to some extent where hata kuna vitu zingine you're just supposed to walk in and walk out.
So,
what they try with this health cover, I mean...
What I think now, but their health is a devolved function. I think it's important to mention that.
Okay.
Health is a devolved function under the 4th schedule of the constitution.
So the buck ends with the counties now.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. It's no longer under the national government, but maybe BBI should bring it back to the national government, because now we've seen doctors striking, nurses striking. Actually, this COVID-19 has changed a lot of things. If there was no COVID, I'm sure right now we'd be saying, okay, the doctors have just completed their strike, the nurses are striking next.
Volunteer.
That is always the narrative.
Care workers were arguing the other day that they were asked to come in, I think when it was starting, and they were only paid for a month, and they've been working this whole time. Yeah. And now they're feeling like,
So, some counties don't exactly manage that health function properly. But I must commend Kitui County and Charitingilu. They recently introduced a sort of universal health coverage system under Kitui government. So I don't know if it's already working. I hope it is, because if it is, it's a beautiful thing. How does universal health coverage work? My understanding will be now how Obamacare was supposed to work. And I think it's the same in the UK. They do enjoy universal health coverage. In the US, in the US it worked for some time, but I think President Trump, I'm not sure, but
has been trying to.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
We don't know their issues.
But point is, the purpose of Obamacare was for every American citizen, to enjoy affordable and quality health care at whatever hospital, regardless of his or her social status.
But the 1%,
that is something we need.
Insurance firms who are not ready for that, they're gonna lose.
Exactly. But we need to think of.
It's true. I agree.
I think
if the national government is coming back, it's just to make sure that they ensure structures and resources are pushed to the counties before it goes back to the county. They make sure they have set up something that is actually functional, so that these counties are not coming from a point where it has been pushed to them. Now you struggle with this issue, find your way out.
Exactly.
Not for
health is so important
for everyone. It's
for every single person thing. And when it comes to health, and now that we've mentioned that, while we have ministers, our cabinet secretary is managing, some of them managing, we have cabinet secretary for health, we have CEC for health at the county level. You find that still their families, they themselves and their families seek health care outside the country.
Man.
So now when we go back now to the other pillar that we intend to discuss, that is on the rights and responsibility. BBI terms it as skin in the game. That, it should be provided that, you know, if you're managing the health services of Kenyans,
Yeah.
then you yourself should be a beneficiary. Make yourself a
As
beneficiary.
a matter of fact, you shouldn't be allowed to go anywhere else.
Yeah,
I mean,
and unless maybe
If you are a leader and your kids, your family, everyone in your house
Exactly.
has to go through the same process that you are there defending.
Yeah.
I'm making it sound like it's good. If it's good, why are you going to Germany for the treatment? If it's good, why are you choosing a
If
private
it's good for
hospital?
the ordinary Kenyan, yeah.
You know, look, let's talk about let me read what they talked about when they said rights and responsibilities. Kenyans must have their human and civil rights respected and enforced. There is no Kenyan whose rights should be compromised no matter the interest against them. Kenyans have struggled hard for these rights and they are not for anybody to take for granted.
So
At
that's
the, at the same time to attain and to protect our rights, or at the same time to attain and protect our rights, we must embrace our responsibilities. The two can never be separated if we are to have either. Venye umesema, if these things have to happen, there's a duty for every single
there's
person.
a duty. Okay, so now what BBI does,
Yeah.
the basic principle of human rights, yeah, now speaking from my knowledge of human rights law, is that first of all, human rights are universal. Therefore, every single human being, they're inherent, they're universal.
So they're not inventing anything new. It's been there.
It's been there. However, what BBI, I'd say, I don't call it inventing, but an idea that they're trying to push forward is that while we have human rights and these human rights attract duties from the government, yeah, like I mentioned, the government has a duty to fulfill, a duty to protect, to respect, to promote human rights. So while these human rights attract these duties from the government, they still attract duties from the ordinary Kenyan.
Okay.
So that is what now the whole, I think it's the second pillar. That
Yeah.
should be the second pillar. That's what it's all about. That's the idea that BBI is trying to advance, that even as Kenyans, we need to own our responsibilities to our country, our responsibilities to our neighbors. Yeah.
But
So if it's provided that, you know, you have a right to life, then it is up to me. My duty is to, you know, do everything that is possible, you know, to ensure that my neighbor does not lose his life, you know, thanks to me.
but ulisema si ni wachoyo. Ni ukweli.
Si ni wachoyo. Juzi, not even juzi. Yesterday, I think there's something that's trending currently about a mother and a child who died after stepping on an electric wire.
What?
I don't know. You've not seen it? I think even Sonko posted it. It happened in Ukunda, and so
I've
the
been
MCA.
concentrating on the wrong media.
God, yeah. So so these people lost their lives. A mother and a child. The mother was carrying the child on her back, and I think the mother accidentally stepped on an electric wire. Now she's gone. So now this mother had a right to life.
Yeah.
She had a right to be protected from all that. So whose responsibility was it to ensure that the electric lines were properly placed so that, you know, the ordinary citizen living around that area will not step on it and die and get electrocuted and die?
I mean, conversation should be from the point of how did that wire have to even come down.
So, okay, of course, fortunately or unfortunately, they're pointing fingers at KPLC. How culpable they are, I would rather not comment. I would rather not comment, but
Okay.
basically what they're saying is that we have responsibilities. Now that I've mentioned how human rights were designed to attract responsibilities from the states stroke government, not from the Kenyans. And that's also the approach that the former constitution took, the 1963 constitution took. But now what BBI seeks to introduce is even a charter for responsibilities, a charter for citizens' responsibilities.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just to say that they are also telling us also the buck will end with you also. You need to play your part if we are going to play
exactly.
our part.
It's not all about the government and rights anymore and responsibilities. We as citizens also have responsibilities. We have responsibilities to our country. We have responsibilities to our society, to our community, to our families, and to ourselves as individuals.
I agree. But I feel like Kenyans probably will feel offended if you're telling them the buck also. And Raila the other day was, I think, in Germany,
Dubai.
Oh,
Dubai? Where?
alitengenezewa Dubai. Mgongo ilitengenezewa Germany ama
Okay, I don't know. I know he's been to Dubai. I don't
and before that alikuwa ameenda, I mean even for specialized treatment, but some things we feel like zinaweza kafanyiwa hapa Kenya but tunaonanga wameenda nje. And then you're telling me pia wewe inafaa kunini, the back ends with you, like na feeling like majority of people who are well able to wanaendaga India, and I don't know what system is being done in India that is working even for people who are in Kenya. Like someone will run away from healthcare in Kenya that can be covered here and go to India. What's happening? I mean, and I don't expect you to answer this question because they are the ones to answer us, because I mean, if someone even middle class will struggle and find like fund for donations to go for a treatment in India, it means that this system is not trusted. How can I make it trusted from my side?
From your side.
Yeah, because from their
There's
side we
not much
understand.
you can do from
Pay
your
the
side.
doctors, put the specialized equipment.
Exactly. Ensure our doctors get the proper requisite training, to ensure
know.
that, we have quality.
And if it's specialized, pay them even more. Sasa mi kutoka side yangu ndio ni feel comfortable to use these systems, surely, if they don't even trust them themselves. I mean, they need to do a bit more if they're going to convince people about this whole thing. And you just covered even for healthcare. Like, that article talks about accessible and adequate housing, free from hunger, and to have adequate food of
Exactly.
acceptable.
So those are
food
rights
of
that are-
acceptable quantity.
By the way, food, the right to food,
Yeah.
again also addressed by the SDGs, the second SDG on zero hunger. It's not just about the quantity of food,
Yeah.
it's also about the quality,
And
nutritious foods.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sio unipigie wacha tu. I
You-
mean, the food
You can't
programs
be
in
eating
schools, manze.
ugali every
Constantly.
day. No.
And that's what I wanted to say. Like, food programs, manze, githeri inakuwaga on the menu. Hadi unachoka nayo. Like, unaiona hadi uko like, unapiga uji
I
break.
still remember high
Unapigwa
school
sijui
manze.
githeri nini. Mi nilienda shule yenye, I kid you not. Like lunch nilikuwa najua ni mchele mbosho. Na sapa najua ni githeri. Like, what was just changing was a Tuesday and a certain day, I think a Saturday, where they'd put a little meat into the food. I'm like, bro, what? Like, I struggled through those years, yani kufinish hiyo shule, yani nikijuanga hii chakula tu, like,
Maybe to that extent I might have been lucky.
you know? Let me tell you, for sure, it has to be acceptable, manze. I mean,
Yeah.
in a change bana, maybe ndio maana nimekonda hivi. You never know.
Hapana.
But I agree, like, they have touched on a lot of things. I really feel like this is those painful ones even for a Kenyan when we talk about it, because nothing much has been done for them to actually be excited about it.
Yeah.
Yet you're pushing them to come back and say, we
Let's,
must...
however, acknowledge that the president's Big Four agenda also tries to address all this.
I agree.
Especially on matters housing.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. And he's doing, like...
He's trying.
He has tried. Like,
Yeah.
whatever he's done in Ngara, like, I mean, no one else has ever tried it. And I'm still waiting to see. You said, as Kenyans have this tendency, manze, hatutaki kukaa uniform, si wote, kuna venye, mtu anataka kujenga mansion yake, na sio kila mtu
Exactly.
anaweza kakuwa na mansion.
Yeah.
So we're still trying to find a way in our lives. I think for me, as Kenyans, we have to move from this conversation where someone, and it's going to be a tough one, where someone moves from this individual-based to where it's a community-based, where we want to actually grow together. But my ambition is always blocking me from... I mean, I want to grow and become bigger than my neighbor.
Yeah.
Like, if my neighbor is prospering, I want to prosper more. Constantly. Like, I'll never be happy for them. Like... And even if I find something that I'm prospering in, I'll hold it for myself. Like, I'll never want my neighbor
You
to
wouldn't
grow.
want to share it.
And I think that's an attitude now that has to change.
It has to change. We have to
Because-
realize we are all Kenyans.
You know-
Yeah. Kenya is only as rich as the poorest person in Kenya.
It's true.
Kenya
man.
is as healthy as the... Let me not go there. Yo imepotea.
Wacha bana.
But anyway, the whole point is
Yeah.
Kenya can only Kenya can only shine in the international community and be as rich and as prosperous as its ordinary citizens.
There's always this.
As its ordinary citizens.
It's true. There's always this whole system where people want to get a lot of cars into the system. Like you buying a car is you showing a prosperity, yet we are just filling up our transport network.
You're
Like,
too.
You know, I mean, I fought with people a lot of times. Like with their ambition is buying a big car, but my ambition is having the best transport network. That if I need to go today, like if we talk LC and we say you need to drop something in Kisumu by the end of the day, like I know I can go find a train that will take probably an hour or 2 hours, and I can drop it and come back to Nairobi. But now you just need to. Now we only think about which one will have the safest parcel delivery, which circle will I use. Manze, I mean, there's a big load of work, and it shouldn't be taken lightly when we talk about shared prosperity and rights and responsibilities.
Exactly.
I mean, when you talk about the duties of every individual, if the government is to do it, like they have to push it and convince people that when it comes from my mouth and I think about my neighbor when we are growing together, it's because I know even at the top level, they are thinking about me.
Yes.
But most of the times now the top level, manze.
Unfortunately, yeah. Unfortunately.
I think this is one of those pillars, like I totally agree with. Like it needs to be implemented. Like it needs to be implemented ASAP. This is not those ones we think about from a BBI point. Because they're all there in the constitution, manze. I mean, if Peter was here, we would be like, but this one is in the constitution. Why do we need this report?
But as Kenya, I also realized, we need to move from a point of where things are just there in the constitution and we cannot see. It's not been reduced. Yeah, we need to see it physically. For example, this economic and social rights.
Yeah, man.
It really pains my heart because, only a few people, the majority of Kenyans cannot enjoy quality healthcare as is provided under Article 43.
It's true.
Yeah.
I've been a victim of it, and even you. I mean, whatever. I mean, it wasn't direct, but someone close to me, and I saw the struggle that we had to go through.
We still hear of cases of whereby some people have failed to pay hospital bills. Now the hospital stopped attending to that particular patient. The patient died. The hospital even refuses to release the body of the patient until the bills are paid.
Unasaidika aje surely.
So that we need to do something about that.
And it's because the ambulance. I mean, I've seen where ambulances, like people go with ambulances and they are sent back, like we can't help you because we don't have the money. Yani hata before ingie lazima utoe
See, that is also provided that everybody has a right, and Article 43 too, that everyone.
But this is happening
emergency
even in our
medical
national
treatment.
hospitals, manze. Someone sent back from the national hospital ban.
It states, and Article 43 too, a person shall not be denied emergency medical treatment.
Who is failing? Because if it's...
I wouldn't say that it's us as the citizens.
It's not.
It's not us.
This
now attracts a duty from the government to fulfill. Yeah, the word is fulfill.
And
to
that's
take
the biggest
positive
question.
steps to ensure.
My biggest question for the president, Elsie, is this one. Why are you bringing it here in the report saying you'll implement it? Yet you've been here for 10 years. It's been in the constitution. And you're trying to convince us with this report, what you were supposed to do with 10 years, you'll now do it via this report. At the end, I feel offended at times when he says such things, when these things are like put out there and makes it look like it's such a new thing for us that will change the way we look at things, yet you are supposed to do it like from the time you stepped into office.
Yeah.
And I try my best to be very...
So the most you can do right now is just be a good citizen.
And do
whatever you can do, you do it. But now, what can you do?
What can
Are you in charge of any educational institution? Do you control, do you control or do you even have a say about provision of water services across the country?
These are basic ones. Hata tukiongea say you have a son or daughter, your small sister. Would you take them to a public school right now?
If if I'm lucky enough to have the means, I'd even take them to the IG.
You know,
Because for some reason now I end up even trusting that education
their
system
system of, because
more
it's
than our
showing
system, because our
results.
system is kind of shaky at the moment. CBC, are the
Thank
teachers
you.
have the teachers been trained?
Thank you. Have they been paid well? Are
Oh
they
my
being catered for? I mean, you listen to remote areas, the hardship allowances that they're given. You can't even survive on it, even if you're in Nairobi, surely.
Yeah.
And you expect me to take my child, damu yangu, niingize public system. You have the right, you have enough money, wealth, everything. Would you take them to a public hospital?
Honestly, no.
So even if I try my best to tell Kenyans this report is working for us, something needs to be done at the top level.
Exactly, something needs to
Before
be
I
done.
convince this guy and tell them shared prosperity is for us all.
It is for everyone. Leave no Kenyan behind, regardless of the tribe, regardless of the background.
I agree. Before I tell them that, shared prosperity needs to be seen from the government level, from the top level.
Yeah.
Something that is working to ensure that there is this shared prosperity to us, so that I can work with them. But right now, I'll be like, we bro, jipange. I'm working for me hapa na watu wangu.
For me and my family.
For me and my family first.
So wejipange.
Na nikipata niko na biashara 7 zote zinaniania kitu. Jirani yangu hapo ana struggle, labda ni employee mahali, amekosa hata biz, hata labda ameleiwa off, you know. So I am, this ones I am deeply troubled, because even when I think how we can work at it as Kenyans, it needs to start from somewhere.
Yeah. But anyway, we
Yeah.
thank God that at least they have recognized, they have acknowledged that something needs to be done to ensure that we actually share the prosperity
For
as
sure.
Kenyans. And that prosperity is not just economic, but still the
There's a
economy plays a large role, yeah?
a big one, like
exactly.
if we covered all the SDGs, like we think about everything that is there, we can see, man. I mean, I agree. They
So-
have to say something needs to be done, but they also need to say we have failed you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I must commend the drafters of this BBI. They have very, very beautiful ideas on how to, ensure that, on how to, the leaders, if the leaders take up the ideas, if the leaders abide by their ideas, then Kenya will get somewhere, especially again in terms of shared prosperity, empowerment of the youth. Yeah, there's something they have talked about, something about provision of tax holidays for small startups by the youth, yeah, so that when you start your business, for the first 7 years you don't have tax obligations. You start paying taxes from the 8th
Bado
year.
tunangoja implement iwe manze.
At least let's have some faith in them.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, this is something I'm very passionate about.
I know.
The youth, because while we're the largest,
We're the most
bado-
neglected.
Yeah, exactly. So yet we're the most creative, we're the most innovative.
I mean, look around, man. I saw a picture of startups in Kenya. I mean, the idea.
Oh yes,
saw,
yes,
man?
I saw it, and most CEOs were
Yeah, European, eh?
exactly.
And
were
it's
white
a
people.
conversation that we've been having with guys. But the thing is, even for them, experts come and promote expert projects that are there.
Yeah,
It just shows like when it comes to funding, even locally, like there are not a lot of investors that are locally gotten from a local point, and so these
Yeah.
people will always go and pick their people first. And so local investors need to start thinking about projects that are Kenyan, because I've seen
buy Kenya,
amazing-
build Kenya.
Buy Kenya, build Kenya. Because I've seen
Exactly.
people with amazing ideas in Kenya. Like I know people, like I buy a lot of things that are Kenyan made because I want to promote my neighbor, my friend. I mean, even if it's a small scarf that you are knitting with those crochet and whatever, me I'll buy because I want to promote you. The little that I have, I will push for it.
Yeah.
And that's where we would probably start from if we promote each other. I don't know how to go about this. Mimi kwanza hii ni ile nilikuwa na mauchungu manze. I have tried my best to be very positive about this matter, and like if it was the other way around, the conversation would have taken a twist. We would have talked differently, even with what the county budgets were being done this whole week. But I agree with you.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to think of some ways in which, before it gets to them, because
Hapo kwa rights and responsibilities, have you seen something about the African Charter on Human and People's Rights? Because what the BBI says or what it provides is that now that, again, I think I've already explained that now it's taking the approach of the duty is not just on the government, the duty is on us as citizens. Then as citizens, we have a duty to our state, to our society. It is in the preamble of the Constitution. If you read the preamble, it kind of also hints at, as Kenyans, we have certain responsibilities. And some of those responsibilities could be something like paying taxes, for example.
Yeah. They have like 5 or so that they're talking about. Like, let me just point out for guys so that they know. And what you're talking about is actually point number 1, where they say that they will ensure to ensure we meet all our responsibilities to self, family, community, and country. We should do the following. And number 1 is write out a charter of citizen responsibilities that lay out the responsibilities to be borne by the Kenyan citizen to himself.
Because at the end of the day, this country is our country. And if we want it to prosper, we also have to play our role.
Sure.
Yeah.
Kwa himself.
Just go on reading. I'm sure you'll find something about volunteering, encouraging Kenyans to volunteer.
Well, okay. I'll establish and run programs for continuous and widespread civic education on rights and responsibilities. Inculcating children a culture of responsibility by devising and operating volunteerism programs in schools. So they want the volunteer work to start to chini, whereby they help communities and institutions near school.
So that we also play our role in it. We just not leave it for the government to ensure that Kenya is prospering. We also have to play our role from the ground up.
I don't deny that. The thing is, and I start mine from point number 4. Subjecting all cabinet secretaries and principal secretaries and their families to the public institutions run by the government.
Skin in the game. Education officer. If you're an education officer, we expect that your child is going through the education system that you are managing.
At a evil, you can be an education officer, but just because you're in the government, they have to go through the same healthcare system.
Exactly.
Because you're all officers of that government.
Exactly.
So you're all working together. So unakuja unaniambia sawa, my son will
now
be
that
in a
is something
school.
that we're talking about BBI amending the constitution.
Yeah.
That is something that I think should be provided in the constitution. And the consequences of not, consequences of, failing to put your child. Okay, fine. It sounds so like that will make Kenya more like a police state. And
let's be a police state to some extent,
we
because if you pick up that role and responsibility, know what duties come with it.
Maybe we make it a condition. If you want to be a cabinet secretary, if you want to work in public service, you have to be willing. Yeah, we make it a condition, not atisasa. Oh, so Minister Elsie's child goes to this school, and Minister Elsie is the Minister of Education.
For sure, and that's why
let's not do it like that. Let's just maybe it should be made a condition. If you want to serve the public in any capacity, being in the public service, maybe as a cabinet secretary, as a CC in the county government, you have to be willing.
You have to use that system.
Public facilities, the government facilities. Exactly. For the period that you're serving, it is required.
Before, let it be a criteria. If you see that you feel like you can change, it's because you've been there. Most of them come with weird ideas. I don't know where they've gotten them from, but they've never been in that space.
Yeah.
Like the last person who was there is probably them or their uncle who was a distant one. And they come with the systems that they pick out from out there, think they can just implement them the way they are here, and they haven't been on the ground and seen how things are running directly. Peleka mtoto wako kwa hiyo system, akae huko miaka 2 before uniambie unataka kuwa cabinet secretary. That's the only way I think people would understand where we're coming from, and we wouldn't have this.
I remember one of the presidential candidates of 2017, Muhammad Abdu Badida, was like, I'm the only candidate here whose children go to public universities. Like, wait, what? Just to show us, me, I know the problems. Me niko hapo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's even crazy hata anafaa hata huyo tutamquestion tukuambie na umeona venye technical schools zinakaa pia.
By the way, that's another thing in terms of education. We need to, get out of the mindset of that technical institutions are only for the failures.
True.
It's maybe that's what used to be, but it's no longer. People need technical skills. Technical skills are
big
important. Me hata by this in a technical skills, and it's even embarrassing. I didn't do home science in primary. I dropped home science in high school. It's unfortunate, but sasa what can I do?
Patanga mtu na masters na PhD lakini bulb anaitanga mtu wa stima.
Imagine bulb anaita mtu wa stima, sijui
sasa hizo mtoto wa China miaka 4 anakubadilishia socket.
Imagine plumbing, these skills are still important,
and they are very necessary.
They're very necessary, and it's also a way of empowering the youth. It's another way of empowering the youth to start up their businesses, to encourage entrepreneurship.
It's true. Look, this one has been those ones that we don't know how to cover them. Like, we are trying our best to do as much as we can in this space and time that we are given. I'll just tell you guys, I'm ready to work with sijui him, myself, family, community and country, but I will always start at point number 4. If I don't subject these secretaries and the government and tell them, do your part first before I do mine, I'm sorry, I'm not ready to work with this shared prosperity idea and rights and responsibilities. That's how I finish on a bitter one. Like, I agree, judge me later, but I'm bitter on this one. Before I work, they need to show me like they are working for me. Else,
so to conclude, I will say that I'm still hopeful about this BBI. I can't say that I support it 100%, but I'm impressed by the ideas that these people who drafted the BBI, the ideas that their recommendations, and to some extent, they involved Kenyans because they went collecting views there. So mine would be, let's take up our responsibilities as citizens right now. Our responsibility right now would be, by the way, if you're listening to this, I hope you're also making an effort on your part to read the BBI yourself, to have your own understanding of the BBI, so that you decide yourself whether or not you're going to pass it in the event we get to a referendum. Yeah,
I agree.
But mine will be to encourage citizens to take up their responsibilities now, because at the end of the day, we are Africans. We just can't leave everything to the government. Then mine will also be to emphasize on what you have just emphasized on, skin in the game. These ministers, these cabinet secretaries, these public officers must also go through the systems that they manage on our behalf, so that if it is good enough for me, an ordinary Kenyan who's not in the public service, then it should be good enough for they themselves and their wives and their husbands and their children and their sisters and their relatives.
I agree. It's been a good one, guys. We'll see you next week. Don't forget to subscribe to acute.co.ke on all platforms. We are now even on Spotify. My producer is doing his game. Ama we've been there. Ni mimi niko zangu. So we'll see you next week, guys.